Welcome to Chapter 9, Purchases. The Chapter 9 Essential Outcomes. You will record transactions into the Special Purchases and Cash Payments journals by A. Identifying accounting concepts and practices related to purchases and cash payments for a merchandising business. B. Journalizing purchases of merchandise using a purchase journal. C. Recording cash payments and cash discounts using a cash payments journal. D. Preparing a petty cash report and journalizing the reimbursement of the petty cash fund. E. Journalizing purchases, returns, and allowances and other transactions using a general journal. F. Connecting key terms in the chapter with application. (9-4) Accounting terminology. Purchases returned. Purchases returned is merchandise that was purchased and returned because it was either damaged or it was the wrong item sent from the vendor. Purchases allowances are credits that are given for damaged merchandise that is not returned back to the vendor. A debit memorandum or debit memo is the objective evidence that shows the price deduction for returned merchandise. Purchases, returns, and allowances account. This is the account that we will use for returned or credited merchandise. The purchases, returns, and allowance account is a contra account to purchases. The purchases, returns, and allowance account has a credit balance. Why? Because it is a contra account to purchases. Purchases has a debit balance. Contra means opposite. So purchases, returns, and allowances has a credit normal balance. It is a temporary account and it is classified in the cost of merchandise section on the chart of accounts. At the start of the chapter, we talked about purchasing merchandise on account. When we purchase merchandise on account, we use the purchases journal. However, what do we do when we purchase assets on account? We are looking at a memorandum. This memorandum is attached to an invoice, and the message on this memorandum tells us that this purchase was for store supplies bought on account, so that we know that we are going to debit supplies-store and credit accounts payable. So what journal will we use to record this transaction? This source document is a debit memorandum. Notice it's a little different than our regular memo. In the top left corner, we have debit memorandum number 78. We are given a description. We have returned damaged merchandise. Thus, we know damaged merchandise will reflect back to our purchases, returns, and allowances. So, the objective evidence for purchases, returns, and allowances will be a debit memo. We are returning this merchandise to Crown Distributing, who is our vendor. Our first transaction, November 6, bought store supplies on account from Golf Craft Supplies $210. Memo number 52. Our first question, what source document are we using? We have a memo. A memo always indicates what journal we will use. In this case, memos are always recorded in the general journal. So we will go to our general journal, write the date. We will write the debit account title, which is supplies-store. We will then record the memorandum number, M52. We will record the debit amount. Then we will write the account title and the vendor's name on the second line. Don't forget to indent it 5 spaces. We will then draw a diagonal line in the post-reference column. And then we will write the credit amount. November 28th. We returned merchandise to Crown Distributing, $252, covering purchase invoice number 80, debit memo number 78. So to determine where this information will be recorded, we look at our source document, which is a debit memo. A debit memo means that we will always use our general journal. So we will write the date. We will write the account title and vendor name that is debited. So we have A/P Crown Distributing. We will place a diagonal line in the post-reference column. We will write DM, which stands for debit memo, and then its number, 78. We will record the debit amount. And then we will use purchases, returns, and allowances for all returned merchandise back to a vendor. The last step would be to write our credit amount. When we look at the accounting equation, our debits equal our credits. We have completed 9-4, so now we need to do our work together. Please open your accounting book to page 258. You will need Work Together, page 199. If you need my assistance, please let me know. That's all, folks. You now have finished the PowerPoint videos. Please go back to the website for your next step. Please review your teacher rubric to know what specific exercises you are to do.